What's going on, everyone? So the other day I made a top 5 best decks to be playing for your tournament, and in that video Han Blue actually got cut from the video just because it had some errors within the editing to upload portion, and I felt bad, so I'm here to give you all a full video on Han Blue, kind of the list that I've been running lately. Of course, there's a lot of debate on what the proper list should be, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different alongside that. This is what I consider to be one of, if not the best decks to bring to a tournament, as it was going to be in that top 5 list. And to be honest, this is the deck that I would choose if I had all the cards available to me to bring to a tournament, because it has the best overall matchups in the game right now. There's not really a matchup that's oppressive for Han Blue, whereas every other deck does feel like there's one matchup that's just really tough. This deck, I've just found, based on how you can sideboard, how you can build it out, you really can handle basically any deck in the format. So we're going to be doing best of 3 today, which is not something I normally do, but because we're kind of just showcasing the deck and how it can perform at a competitive level, well, best of 3 is where you're going to be doing that. So we're going to be doing that today. Before we dive into the list here and talk about a few specific portions, but just overall go over Han Blue, 2 announcements. 1, I have a TCG player link in the description down below. If you click on it, it'll send you the homepage. Any purchase you make, it'll help me out as well as help you out. Second thing, I want to give a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. We've been playing some games lately, chatting, and of course, talking about the new cards, which has been a lot of fun. So be sure to check that out in the description down below if you want to chat directly with me. Let's talk about Han Blue. So what are we trying to do with this deck? Well, first off, we got to start with the action. Han's action, new Han. Play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. You have to deal 2 damage to it. Very straightforward, but arguably the most broken action in the whole game. It just allows you to play everything a turn earlier. The damage on those units really doesn't matter for the most part. The idea behind this deck is we have a couple early game units. Sometimes just playing an A-Wing or a Sabine Wren is just worth it over playing a 3-drop. But starting on turn 2, you can start playing Kanans, K2s. Turn 3, you get to play Poe Dameron's, Rays. Turn 4, you get to play Obi-Wans. Turn 5's, Luke's, Maces. Turn 6's, Redemptions. Turn 7's, turn 6 also with Chewbacca. Turn 7, Krayt Dragon. You're just playing high value things along the curve. And you're kind of playing a very traditional mid-range deck where you have good removal. So you're going to be removing units in the earlier game alongside playing high value units, and then just using your massive value units in the late game to finish off the game. A couple of key cards that I really want to mention. Luke Skywalker is one of the best reasons to play this deck. This is just one of the things that stabilizes the board and is just an amazing finisher. The Redemptions and Chewbacca is also absolutely amazing. Helps you stabilize, remove something similar to Luke, or just heal up a bunch. Krayt Dragon would be an amazing finisher. In the earlier stages of the game, what we're going to be doing is just playing units to try to trade off. Open Fire, Fell the Dragons, really nice ways to deal with very high value units in the early game. Force throws really synergize with Yoda's, Kanan's, Obi-Wan's, Luke's. Just get a force unit down, play a force throw. You get amazing value. You could also just use this to get a card out of your opponent's hand, which tends to be pretty nice. And then all you're trying to do is survive in the early game. And then you play your big stuff and you win the game. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing too complicated about the deck, realistically, as you usually just want to use your action and you usually want to get something down that's big. Pretty straightforward. In the sideboard, this is where things get a little bit more tricky. So the idea with the sideboard is that we're trying to shore up a lot of the matchups that maybe are a little bit disadvantageous, but not anything too oppressive. So we have a lot of tools in the sideboard. One thing, we have 1 copy of Tech. Really goes well against other Han Blues, because a lot of the times you're discarding each other, which is usually what you want to be doing, and you'll be playing high value things across the board, each of you. And so having another tech to smuggle out things like Chewbacca that you might have resourced earlier, or Redemptions or Krayt Dragons that you might have resourced earlier, can be really nice. 2 copies of Make an Opening can be really good against like Crafty Smuggler, for example, or Lurking Ties. Disabling Fang Fighters help you defeat upgrades. Could be really nice against Sabine. If they're going into space, you can defeat a Darksaber, kill one of their units, or trade off with one of their units. Takedowns, or a takedown, really nice in the Sabine matchup or anything that's trying to play some early game. Another copy of Fell the Dragon. So I've played takedowns, I've played Fell the Dragon, I've played Open Fire. I actually really like Open Fire alongside Karabast in the early game to deal with early units, and Fell the Dragon because people are playing Poe Damerons, people playing Wreckers, people playing Han Blues, people playing Fett's Fire Spray. There's just so many things that Fell the Dragon can hit, which ends up making it extremely useful. Then we have Pillage, Another copy, really good against any sort of other mid-rangey deck or a deck that's trying to combo up. And then lastly, Rivals Fall. Rivals Fall, usually a little bit overrated in my opinion, but can be really nice in certain decks that are trying to go in on their leader. For example, a Darksaber Sabine. Rivals Fall can be okay against that. But in general, even in that situation, it's too late if you're trying to Rivals Fall Sabine Darksaber, because they've already gotten 2 attacks in with it. So it's usually not something that's relevant there, but can be good against, I suppose, like a Bo-Katan coming down on 6 or something like that. But with all that said, we're going to dive into some best of 3s today, and I am excited for it. So let's start it off. Into our first matchup, we got ourselves a match against Cassian Green. So I'm not sure what to expect here, but we have a pretty nice hand. I get to go ahead and resource this tech, and I will probably go ahead and resource this Luke just to give us some more options in the early game. I'm thinking what I'll be doing is turn 1 Cassian, and we will go turn 2 Yoda. I take it back, because they went ahead and played a mercenary gunship. I'm actually going to play the Yoda here because, ooh, and another Karabast. I think I'm going to go and resource one of them. The reason why I went ahead with Yoda is because they're a mercenary gunship in space. They're going to have to ECL something out in order to kill Yoda, most likely. And so now what we can do is just go ahead and force throw my opponent, and it might actually be able to kill the mercenary gunship. This is a very unlikely. Oh, wow, they have a time intervention. I was going to say, it's very unlikely for them to have had... Ooh, and they have a Sidari Peacekeeper. Totally fine. So that actually worked out pretty nicely for them. They had a 1-cost unit, and they ended up ECLing out something. So I was saying that that's probably not going to happen, but they ended up doing it anyways. Regardless, still, things are looking pretty nice for us so far. We're just going to drop in a Kanan, and they no longer have ECL, so we're going to have a pretty nice advantage here. Ooh, and our Kanan's going to be able to just straight up kill that K2, which looks pretty awesome. I'm going to go to resource that, what's it called? The A-Wing, just because I'd rather have another Restorer. They're going to make me discard. I discarded a 2-cost thing. Okay, pretty nice for us. Let's get rid of this Chewbacca. Don't really see a reason to do so, or to keep that out. Let's go ahead and deploy our Han. And really, we're just trying to survive right now. So let's just go ahead and get down a Yoda. Some more restoring. Now, they're kind of forced to... Actually, let's just go ahead and Karabast the mercenary gunship. They're kind of forced to pass here. Okay, so they claimed initiative. The reason I say they're forced to pass is because Cobb Vanth, they're not able to play that card for free because they've claimed initiative. So this ends up being really, really good for us. Got ourselves a Fell the Dragon, which I will keep in hand because I might go ahead and use that if they deploy something big, and they did. So we're just going to go ahead and Fell the Dragon away Poe Dameron, get that removed. And they're going to have a Cassian, which they may end up deploying here. And we're going to just attack in with Yoda, get that Restore 2 going. And I don't really care if they try to trade off with a couple of my units. I'm totally fine with that, actually. I think that what they should try to do is hit the base. Okay, I hit their Bravado. Looks like they have a recruit. Oh, they're playing a recruit. So the idea here is we're just trying to restore into the late game. And so having, oh, and let me move myself over. Having a Restorer on the battlefield, killing their units, and kind of being basically in a situation where we have tech, we have the ability to, play out a Poe Dameron is really, really nice, right? Let's just go ahead and get down a Poe Dameron just to see what they have. If they play a big thing, then we can just claim initiative and attack with our Poe Dameron. Looks like they do have a Poe Dameron of their own, so we will just claim initiative. Ooh, and that is a Luke Skywalker. So I think what I'll do here is just kill their Poe Dameron. No discard. No reason to discard. And we'll just get down a Luke and kill whatever else that they play. Yoda can help us restore. Again, we're just trying to outvalue them. We're at the stage where Chewbacca's can come down and kill things. Luke can come down and kill things. Drew ourselves a Mace Windu. We get to play a Luke, kill their Wrecker. Absolutely horrible for them, by the way. Like, we have a Restore 3 on the battlefield. We drew ourselves an Open Fire, which looks amazing. We got ourselves a Crate Dragon, which looks amazing. I'm actually just going to drop in the Crate Dragon, so now if they play anything, we could potentially shoot down their A-Wings, and they're probably not going to be able to finish off the game with an A-Wing, only because, well, we have Restore 3 on Luke, so they kind of have to deal with Luke. This basically seals the deal for us. So let's go ahead and attack in for 6. And then we're just going to claim initiative. There's nothing else that we really have to do. Let's just go ahead. I can't kill their A-Wings with Crate Dragons because Crate Dragon can only hit ground units, but we can kill their K2. They have a Force Throw. Sure, we could discard Open Fire. We could deal damage to their base. It doesn't really matter if they're trying to Force Throw us and all this stuff because, well, and Concord Interceptor is an amazing card because we can just attack their base, right? We can just attack their base for approximately 1 million. I'll attack for Crate Dragon first because that's 10 damage. And then we will finish off the game with a Luke. Pretty straightforward game. They're playing, it looks like a pretty interesting version of a green-red heroism. And they say GG. But they're looking to be a little bit more of an aggressive, focused deck, trying to value us out, get some card drawn going. But what we're going to do here with the sideboard, first thing that I really like, Takedown, I do like. In general, in these types of matchups, I don't know if I really care about anything else that's going on in their list, to be honest. I saw Recruit, I saw Cobb Vanth, I saw A-Wing. Make It Opening doesn't look particularly strong. I think Tech here is kind of unnecessary, so I will just take out Tech. Fell the Dragon could be useful. There is a situation where I could kill off their Wreckers or their Poe Dameron, so I don't mind that. And I think Mace Windu looks a little bit weak here. In that stage of the game, the Mace Windu isn't really going to be doing all that much. However, I think even more so than that, the where is it? What am I looking for? The Pillages. There we go. I think Pillage actually is pretty bad in this matchup as well because of them able to be drawing a bunch of cards with Cassian and kind of get them out of that situation where they have no cards in hand. So that's what we're going to make as our changes. Pretty nice hand here. We got ourselves a Sabine. Well, I should say a nice hand, but it's a usable hand. I'm going to go and resource this Redemption, and I'll probably resource this Force Throw because we don't want to be keeping too many situational cards in hand because I don't want to be playing Sabine with damage on her. And I probably will be going with Force Throw on turn 2. So Karabas isn't really going to have an option for us here in the early game. I could play a Sabine Wren, but I think what I'm going to do is just claim initiative and then open firing the Battlefield Marine. Drew ourselves a Chewbacca. That's totally fine. I think actually because we drew the K2, I'm going to change what I want to do. I'm going to be playing just a K2 here with some damage on it. Now, if they want to, they can go ahead and trade their Battlefield Marine with my K2. But this sets up a Karabast, which could be nice alongside a Sabine Wren next turn. My suggestion for them would be to just hit our base, but they're looks like going to try to trade off with some units in the early game. I think that heavily advantages us, so I'm happy with that. Looks like they discarded a Bravado, and they have a Sundari Peacekeeper for themselves, so pretty nice one there. We drew ourselves a Poe Dameron, so we're just going to drop in a Poe Dameron here. Really nice draws for us. I resourced the other Obi-Wan because there's a good chance that I don't really care about that since we already have one. They could ECL like a K2 here. Looks like they're going to draw a card. And they have a Recruit. Okay, so this is amazing. The game is basically won at this point. I don't really see us losing the game at all at this point, just because we have a Poe Dameron on the battlefield. And with 2 resources, it's going to be very unlikely that they're going to be able to do anything about it. And now, because they've played a Mercenary Gunship, we can even kill both of them with just a single attack. And let's go ahead and discard this Sabine Wren to deal 2 damage to the Mercenary Gunship. And now we have a Poe Dameron left behind. They have no board state. We have 5 resources. And we're about to flip the Han Solo here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Flip Han Solo. If they want to ECL out Poe Dameron, that's totally fine. Let's go ahead and attack. The reason why I didn't care if they ECL'd out Poe Dameron is because we can open fire it afterwards. They're going to claim initiative. Wow, okay, so they're not even playing anything. In that case, I'll just get down an Obi-Wan and start progressing my board. And now the game is again, basically over. I don't really see how they could have anything that can really shift the game in their favor. If they have a Wrecker, sure, they can kill Obi-Wan, sure, they can kill Poe Dameron, but then my Han Solo becomes a 5/8 and the Wrecker dies, right? And then they can get down to Cassian. We can go ahead and potentially hit it with Han Solo. There are just so many different options that we have. Let's go ahead and get in with Obi-Wan here. They're going to fell the dragon. How did they use up 6 resources with just a fell the dragon? I'm not quite sure how that happened. Huh. I don't know why they used 6 resources for fell the dragon. Whatever. Let's go ahead and just attack into their Cassian. Remember, Cassian has Saboteur, so they can hit our base. So they can ignore Obi-Wan. Let's just go ahead and Karabast. Hit this Cassian for 5. And then we will just get down to Kanan, which will help us heal up. So really, really amazing spot for us. You might be like, oh, well, aren't you going to run out of steam? Nope, because we have Cassian in our resource pile. We have a Chewbacca in our resource pile. We have the board state completely in our advantage. Looks like they have a Wrecker. Sure, they can knock out Kanan. They can knock out Han Solo. They can knock out Obi-Wan. They can knock out 2 of these, which is probably what they're going to be doing. We're just going to give the experience over to Kanan, which is going to allow us to draw a card and potentially trade with the Wrecker. And if they're trading with Kanan, then we are just massively, massively ahead. Remember, because they have nothing on the battlefield. We're going to get down to Luke, even though there's nothing for them to really, or nothing for Luke to really hit. But it's just the restore 3 aspect of it's going to be amazing. Sure, they have a Vanquish. Doesn't matter. We're going to get down another Luke. And we're going to attack them for 3. We could force throw them, but it doesn't really matter because they have so many cards in hand. It's one of the reasons why I think Pillage is pretty bad in this matchup. You can just see how many cards that they have in hand. Oh, I realize. I don't know why I don't know why Fell the Dragon is 6 cost. They're playing Vanquish and Fell the Dragon here in their Cassian green deck, which I suppose. Let's see what they decide to do. Maybe they hit Luke and then attack the Han. Nope, they're just going to ECA, or they're going to time me out, something. That's fine. We are just going to, I think, get down a Cassian and a Kanan. What did we smuggle in? Concord Dawn Interceptors. We're going to attack, get a Kanan down, and we're going to pass. Our opponent's just trying to use all these different cards to stabilize, which is really, really in a bad spot for them. They really don't want to be doing that. We have a Krayt Dragon that we can get down. But this game is over. They're just trying to stabilize. They've been trying to stabilize for 4 turns in a row. And anytime your opponent's in the I'm trying to stabilize portion of the game is over for them. if you're playing Han Blue. Okay. Let's just go ahead and play a Krayt Dragon. Getting on a Krayt Dragon because if they play something else to follow up, then we can hit their energy conversion lab with whatever they play and then potentially end the game. We can also keep up Force Throw here, which is nice. They're going to hit Kanan. That's fine. We're going to hit their base for 4. They're going to claim initiative. I am going to Force Throw my opponent. They are almost assuredly going to have a 1-cost card to discard so we can kill off the Kanan. Let's get kill off the Cassian. Draw ourselves a Mace Windu and a Sabine. We're going to keep resourcing. We have so many different things to do. Chewbacca to smuggle out. I'm going to keep the Mace Windu in hand and the Yoda because that can draw us more cards. But I mean, honestly, this game was pretty straightforward. There wasn't really a whole lot that our opponent could do throughout the entirety of the game. And you can just kind of see the difference in when you're playing Han Blue, meta, and a deck that's just kind of playing something new. Cobb Vanth, Traitorous, in Cassian Green is definitely not a meta deck. And it wasn't even close. It just was not close throughout both games. I wasn't threatened my life total or my base total damage wasn't threatened. I didn't feel like I was in a back spot at any point in the game realistically, and I didn't feel like my opponent had any out at any portion of the game. Into our next matchup against Cad Bane Blue. Now this deck, it could be varying, but usually there's a lot of tricks, and there's just a kind of a curve out to this deck. I'm not a huge fan of this hand. I'm going to go and mulligan this. Mulligan into a pretty reasonable hand. I'm really, really hoping I get to keep these Krayt Dragons. So I'm actually going to resource the Obi-Wan and Open Fire, because against Cad Blue, there are some ways to deal with the Krayt Dragons. They have Vanquishes, they have usually Rivals Fall, things like that. But Krayt Dragon's just really good against the more soft control lists here. Looks like they've got a Crafty Smuggler. They're going to deal damage. We're going to claim initiative. And we get ourselves a Force Throw and a Redemption. So not exactly an exciting couple of cards to be drawing, but we get to go ahead and attack with the A-Wing. And then we get to play a K2, which I'm not excited about either because it's going to be able to trade with the Crafty Smuggler. Let's go ahead and play out a K2, which is a little bit unfortunate. They're going to be able to kill it with the Crafty Smuggler. And we're going to attack their hand. We're going to attack their hand almost assuredly. We're going to make them discard. Kind of an awkward draw. The open fire would not have been even that good in this matchup either, because again, they have things like Crafty Smuggler coming down in some of these decks. Ooh, Karabast is a little bit interesting. I feel like we're just going to be trading off with this Black Sun Starfighter, so I'm going to keep the Fel the Dragon in hand. And if we don't play anything, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pass. If they have something that we can Fel the Dragon, great. If we have nothing, that's also fine. Let's just go ahead and I think what we want to do, I'm tempted to flip Han first, but if I do that, then if they kill it with like a Power of the Dark Side, we are kind of unable to play Obi-Wan. So they have a Vanquish, that's fine. I'll flip Han, I'll kill their Crafty Smuggler, and then we will pass. Fel the Dragon, Chewbacca. Chewbacca could be resourced. It could also be played next turn, so I think I'll keep it in hand for right now. Concord Dawn Interceptors could be our play this turn. I think I want to keep the Fel the Dragon as well. It's a little bit of an awkward hand. I'm going to resource this Force Throw. It's a little bit of an awkward hand. They're going to deal some damage, kill off my my Han, which is totally fine. They're going to get down a Cad Bane, and we're going to claim initiative. Pillage and a Force Throw, huh? So right now, we're just going to go ahead and pillage our opponent, and then Force Throw them as the follow-up. And then we can get down a Krayt Dragon next turn. They have a Power of the Dark Side and a Fennec. They have Vigilance, so they're going to... What are they going to do? This is definitely a way different version of their shielding and milling. Okay, well, we're going to Force Throw their last card. Let's see what we get. Opponent's got to choose a card. We get another Vigilance. Oh, they got double Vigilance. Okay, we're going to claim initiative, and then we're going to drop in a Krayt Dragon here. Oh, wow, that is a lot of good cards. I'm going to resource the Chewbacca at this point. And we're going to see if they decide to resource something. They do not, so we're just going to get down a Krayt Dragon. And I mean, we're going to claim initiative. There's not much else that we can do here, so... They can attack the Krayt Dragon here, which they will do so. Let's go ahead and claim initiative. They're going to play a Pike Sentinel. That's totally fine. They get to deal damage to my Krayt Dragon. Let's hit their Cad Bane. And, ooh, that's a Karabast, huh? Karabast is pretty sweet here. Let's smuggle out the Chewbacca, though, and defeat the Pike Sentinel. And now, if they play something, we can hit their Cad Bane. If they don't, then or if they just attack, then that's also fine. Remember, we can deal 2 damage to their Cad Bane here. And if you want to use their ability, that's fine. We ping the Chewbacca. And then we could just go ahead and hit their base for 10. Keeping Krayt Dragon alive is going to be pretty useful. They can keep hitting us, but we are really outsizing them right now. And there you go. It's one of the reasons why I kept the Krayt Dragons in hand. Krayt Dragon is just so exceptional in this matchup. Pillage here is going to be great. They're a little bit more soft controlling, so we're going to grab an attack. They're playing Crafty Smuggler, so open fire is pretty weak here. Although, I also think that... Fel the Dragon can be a little bit awkward, but I think I'm just going to take out both open fires and replace them for a tech and a pillage. But I like everything else here. Okay, turn 1 Force Throw, or turn 1 Yoda could be okay. but we have no other play outside of that. I think we mulligan this. Okay, much better hand. Couple of early game plays. I get to go to resource this Chewbacca because I can smuggle it out later, and probably resource this Mace Windu because Mace Windu is not really going to have that many targets. Let's go ahead and just get down to Sabine Wren here. And now we have a nice turn 1 play. We didn't even have a turn 1 play last turn, which is pretty sweet that we were able to win that. Again, Krayt Dragon just kind of dominated that game. All right, well, let's go ahead and kill the Pike Sentinel. They have a Crafty Smuggler. That's totally fine. Let's go ahead and play a K2. I actually sequenced that pretty poorly. I should have gone ahead and played the K2 before attacking with the Sabine. That way I could have targeted the K2 with the damage trigger from Cad Bane. That was actually a little bit of a mistake from myself. We're going to go with a pillage here. So we're going to rip apart my opponent's hand. We're going to make them discard with K2. And then we're going to pillage them. So now they're going to have no cards in hand, basically. Get rid of Forlom, get rid of 7th Fleet Defender, and they're going to claim initiative. Okay, so that's really good news for us. Let's go ahead and resource probably the Carabas, because I don't really care about that all too much. I'm going to flip Han, because if they have a Power of the Dark Side, that's fine. They can use it on Han. Okay, they're going to deal some damage here. I am still just going to attack their base and kind of ignore the Crafty Smuggler. Then I'll play a Ray, and we will pass. The reason I did that is because they are kind of forced to attack Han or have something else to kill Han, and I don't need to waste an action by killing the Crafty Smuggler. I think I'll get rid of this Carabast here. I have a good feeling that there's not going to be a lot of damage available to us here. Or damage on our units, rather. Let's get down an Obi-Wan. Let's go ahead and... I want to attack Cad Bane. Heal up. Nothing, because it doesn't matter. But I do want to get rid of this leader. Cad Bane can do a lot of damage, dealing 2 damage to something every single time you play an Underworld card. Once per turn, basically. It's going to be really, really tough. Really, really tough to kind of keep all of our stuff high HP. So we're going to get down the Obi-Wan. And Cad Bane here, they could have all sorts of different stuff available to them. Looks like they have a Vanquish. So they can't really do a whole... Or a Vigilance. So they can't really do a whole lot. I don't think Vigilance is good in this matchup at all for them. Going mill plus shield is so sad. Not that our opponent had many other options, but like milling, this game usually doesn't come out to milling, and shielding up a Cad Bane just doesn't really do a whole lot. Let's go and get this Chewbacca down in the resource pile here. And what I will do is just go ahead and attack into Cad Bane here, heal up Ray. Get rid of that shield token. I can get down a Redemption here. Looks like they have an Enfys Nest, which is fine. We will go ahead and deal 2 to Ray. And I'll just drop in a Poe Dameron. So now, if they claim initiative, that's fine. I will just attack their base. Again, we have a Sentinel on the battlefield, so they have to get through the Sentinel. Next turn, we can get down a Krayt Dragon. If they happen to have like a Super Laser Blast that they're preparing for, that's totally fine. Oh, they're going to be able to keep their Enfys Nest alive for now. But what we can do is just attack into Cad Bane here. Well, actually, I'm going to give 2 experience to Ray. Okay, they conceded. I was like, we're going to be able to attack into Cad Bane, heal up Ray. She's going to live. Enfys Nest will then have to attack Ray, which will then trade. We will have Poe Dameron available. I could have done so many different things there. And then we could follow up with Krayt Dragon, Luke's, all that manner of stuff. Cad Bane Blue, a little bit more of a kind of deck of the week, I guess you could say. A lot of people have been playing Cad Bane Blue. And this is a little bit of a different version than I'm used to seeing. Vigilance, unfortunately for them, in this matchup, really, really poor. you really don't want to be playing Vigilance against these kind of all value decks, because the milling portion, usually the game doesn't come down to that, and just giving a shield token usually isn't good enough, and you're not going to be able to defeat a unit with 3 or less HP, generally speaking, against my units, right? So that could be a little bit tricky. Usually good in a lot of other matchups, but not against Han Blue. The Crafty Smuggler ended up doing some really good work, but in this matchup, it all came down to K2SO plus Pillage. Our opponent just didn't have any options, right? We made them discard Pike Sentinel, 7th Fleet Defender, 4-LOM, all in the same turn. And that meant that they couldn't play anything because they wanted to keep their more expensive, more high value stuff, which just allowed us to play big thing, big thing, big thing, big thing, big thing, and just kill them. Okay, next one we got is Boba Yellow, and we have a pretty expensive hand. 6-drop, 6-drop, 8-drop, 7-drop, 8-drop. Definitely gonna mulligan this one, really limiting on our options. This one is a lot better, but is still pretty expensive, to be honest. I am considering just playing out this A-Wing with some damage on it because of Karabast. There are very few cards that really punish us for that in the Boba list. If they have a Mercenary Gunship, sure, Mercenary Gunship kills it anyways, even if we didn't have damage on it. But Karabast is going to set up a kill. If they have Waylay, that's totally fine. We can replay the A-Wing and then Karabast afterwards. So I think the correct play here is to actually get some damage on my A-Wing, just so that we can go ahead and play Karabast as an option. If I was playing against like Cad Bane, for example, that's an awful thing to do. If I was playing as maybe another deck, I might make a different decision, but at least in this matchup, there is very few things that double yellow Boba is going to be able to do against this A-Wing here in order to punish me. If they had like a Cartel Spacer on turn 1, I would not have done that because their Cartel Spacer couldn't kill my A-Wing, and then they could have, but that wasn't the case. So on to, well, what we're doing here. Resource this tech. We drew a K2, which is great. We get to go ahead and play K2. I will, I think, just get down at K2 here, actually. If they had a Bodhi, they probably would have played that to rip my Karabast out of hand. So I'm actually just going to go with developing the board out instead of playing Karabast, because I might have a better target for it here in just a moment. Again, if they had Bodhi, they would have played it because they knew what my hand was, right? With Viper Probe Droid, so they knew I was setting up with a Karabast. Wow, so they have nothing. Interesting. Very, very strange for my opponent. Not having anything on that turn is pretty brutal. They could have a 4-LOM, but it just trades with K2, so we are ahead there. And if they do that, I'm just going to drop a Poe Dameron. Like, just drop Poe Dameron in and let it ride. So this is a really nice setup for us. Our opponent not having a turn 2 play is extremely advantageous. They do have the Boba Fett flip, which is scary for sure. Right? That is a very scary thing. Wow, they're trading? That's also a little bit strange. So they are discarding a Zuckuss. Well, I'm going to play a Poe Dameron here. I don't really care about attacking, to be honest. If they have a 4-LOM, sure, then I will attack. And yeah, this is just trading, right? And again, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want. Next turn, we can't quite play the Luke, but we can get out a tech from the smuggle pile. We drew ourselves a Pillage and a Force Throw, which, well, not exactly super exciting, but we can rip apart Boba Fett's hand where they have basically nothing. And we are able to flip over the Han Solo. So I think what I do is I resource this Crate Dragon and maybe take out Boba with the Karabast plus Han damage. I'm not quite sure. We will have to see, but this is a pretty nice setup for us, at least right now. They could have a Cantina Bouncer. If they do, I'm not exactly that scared. They just bounce my A-Wing, which isn't really that worrisome. So what we could do is attack Boba Fett, and if we are able to attack Boba Fett and then leave Karabast in hand, we could actually kill Boba Fett with Karabast afterwards, because Han Solo would have taken 4 points of damage. So that's really, really nice. Let's just go ahead and flip over Han. If they want a surprise strike in, I'm totally fine with that, by the way. One card that could be a little bit scary here would be the Boba Fett's armor, because Luke doesn't actually kill that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and attack into the Boba Fett lead. Lurking TIE Phantom, huh? Well, in that case, I will just Carabas away the Boba Fett. I will pass. I'm not even going to force throw here. I could, but they have 2 cards in hand. Doesn't seem realistically like an amazing option. Drawing Carabas and Open Fire is pretty nice. I will resource this force throw now. And Luke, by the way, does kill Lurking TIE Phantom. I'm a little bit surprised that they decided not to attack with Boba Fett here, or on that last turn. They knew of Carabas from the earlier Viper probe droid. This game state is extremely advantageous for us. They could try to kill like my A-Wing, which is totally fine. Looks like we are unable to get... Ooh, what do we want to do here? I think what we want to do is actually just knock out the Lurking TIE Phantom. And I think we'll just pillage our opponent here. Just get rid of both cards in hand. What do we get rid of? That's Fire Spray and Zuckuss. That's fine. We got ourselves a Redemption, which could come down this turn. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of probably this Carabast here. Okay, we're just going to drop in a Luke, kill the Cartel Spacer, preserve some HP. Hopefully they did not draw another Fett's Fire Spray, although even if they did, we will be able to claim initiative here and then kill one of their units. Fel the Dragon, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Redemption looking pretty good here. Let's just go ahead and kill the 4-LOM here just to preserve as much HP as we can. They're going to probably kill Luke here. It's my guess. They could attack our base and then play a Bounty Hunter and then ready up Toro again. They're going to hit our base. Okay. Oh, they're going to attack with the 7th Fleet Defender. In that case, I will just go ahead and play an Obi-Wan here because we have the Open Fire to follow up with. So yeah, Surprise Strike. Totally fine with that. Totally fine with Surprise Strike. Yes, their Toro lives, but we can Open Fire to finish it, and we'll get 2 experience tokens on the Luke, pumping him even further and drawing an additional card. So really, really nice spot for us to be in. Ooh, and we drew Carabast. Okay, well, let's just kill Toro. And let's see what the last card in my opponent's hand is. Okay, they're going to claim initiative, so must not be exceptionally powerful. Kanan, Fel the Dragon. I think Fel the Dragon might be the resource of choice here. We do have tech in the resource pile, so we do have a lot of options in terms of smuggling him out and then maybe getting some value in some way there. Carabas and Force Throw don't kill the 7th Fleet Defender straight up. So, ooh. Well, Carabas doesn't quite kill Fett's Fire Spray. However, I can just go ahead and drop in a Redemption. And then I will not heal anything. There's no reason to heal anything. This just puts a brick wall in front of my opponent. If they attack with both these units, then they still aren't even able to get through it. So I don't think I heal anything. There's not really a reason to do so. They're going to claim initiative. We are going to Force Throw my opponent, see what card we can get rid of out of their hand, and then maybe get some value. If it's an expensive card, we get to hit Fett's Fire Spray, although I think that would have to be another Fett's Fire Spray in their hand. If it's like a Surprise Strike or whatever, then we can just take care of the shield on 7th Fleet Defender. So they discard a Cantina Bouncer. Okay, well, I will go ahead and just hit the shield off since I can't kill the Fett's Fire Spray straight up. Drew ourselves Obi-Wan and Kanan, or Obi-Wan and Open Fire. I think I don't resource anything. I guess I could resource the Kanan. Yeah, I like resourcing Kanan here. So even Surprise Strike doesn't actually kill Redemption. They would need like a Waylay. And even if they do Waylay, I just replay the Redemption afterwards. And they're in a pretty rough spot. A pretty rough spot. Yep. Let's just kill the 7th Fleet. No reason to mess around. No reason to tank any extra damage. Let's attack for 8. Heal up a little bit. I will go ahead and smuggle out the tech. And then I will smuggle out the Kanan. And that's going to be pretty awesome. pretty awesome. Tech, not necessarily for this matchup. I don't think it's actually that great in this matchup, but in that spot, there's no reason to deploy an Obi-Wan. We can get multiple threats, one of which heals. Not that we are under pressure of dying or anything. It's just that they're the aggro deck. And in this situation, the opponent is kind of in charge of trying to close out the game before we can, because we will always win that late game skirmish against Boba Yellow, assuming we're not at like 5 HP left and they can drop a surprise Fet's Fire Spray. But Redemption completely owning that end game there, completely brick walling entirety of my opponent's advances. And it looks like, well, I tried to get to Yugal best of 3, but our opponent actually disconnected after saying they were going to play a best of 3. So not much I can do about that. So let's, I guess, move on to the next one. All right, into our next matchup against Double Green Palpatine. For those of you curious that I'm how I'm trying to get best of 3s, well, you can title a game in this Karabast. I'm not going to mulligan this, by the way. This is a pretty solid hand. And you can just title it like best of 3, please. And people will normally come in and I can ask them as well. But a lot of people don't realize you can title games. So people join and they're like, wait, they're like, I can't play a best of 3. And they're like, why did you leave? It's like, well, I titled my game best of 3 only. So for those of you that might be new to Karabast or whatever, you can label your games and that does help out. Okay, what do we draw? Cassian and Sabine. Double Green Palpatine, things we got to worry about. Obviously ramping and them stealing one of our big things, because they can do that very, very easily. They put up a Sentinel, but honestly, this is a very weak hand for my opponent. Overall, I am happy on how the game is going so far. Sabine Wren, Force Throw, Karabast. Karabast, generally speaking, is not going to be all that great in this matchup. I do like Force Throw, however. So maybe we can get some value there. Ideally, they don't play a 4 toughness or a 4 power unit, so my my Poe will survive. Looks like they're going to command, which means that they have only 2 options: resource plus return the phase 3 Dark Trooper. And we get to go ahead and attack in for 3, and then we get to go ahead and get down a Poe Dameron, which is going to be amazing. So Poe Dameron on the battlefield, that's always really nice for us. Got ourselves an A-Wing, which I think I might keep. Force Throw might be the resource of choice here, since I'm not really going to be getting rid of my opponent's cards. Palp Green generally has a lot of cards. If you get it with an early pillage, then it can be nice, but in this case, they went like turn 1, do nothing, turn 2, phase 3 Dark Trooper, turn 3, basically draw a card resource. So they've had a ton of additional card draw, and they're going to end up with a total of 6 cards. If they play 1 card this turn, that's 5 cards in hand. Force Throw isn't really going to give us a target. We could obviously discard from ourselves. We don't have any force units on the battlefield, so that's just a lot of setup, and I don't really think it's going to be worthwhile in the long run. Instead, we can smuggle out a second Cassian if that's going to be relevant. We could get down A-Wing plus Sabine Wren, which is probably what I want to do. Let's just go ahead and attack. I will discard Obi-Wan. Oh, wait, whoops. I wanted to deal damage. There we go. I didn't choose the right mode. Get in for 8 points of damage. They can flip Palpatine, just so you know. So we can deploy a bunch of things to the board. We can attack in for 3. And now, I mean, in this state of the game, we are kind of flooding the board. So even if they flip Palpatine, steal my Poe Dameron, we are still in a pretty nice spot, right? So here, I'm just going to get in with Sabine. Get in for 3. If they kill my Han Solo, we can kill their Poe Dameron. Or my Poe Dameron, whatever you want to call it. We have Chewbacca to follow up soon with 9 resources. Cassian can come out yet again. Let's just go ahead and attack into the Royal Guard here. Oh, they're going to attack Han Solo, discard a card to kill Cassian, I'm assuming. Not a bad situation at all for them. Stealing Poe Dameron still excellent. They had double ramp, even though they had a pretty weak hand. Emperor Palpatine, Double Green Palpatine is one of those matchups which is a little bit tough for this deck. They're gonna deal 2. Okay. And kill Han Solo, it looks like. Sure. So let's just drop in our Obi-Wan. Can't get down Luke, but I'm fine with getting down an Obi-Wan in this stage of the game. Looks like they're going to command, give 2 experience, and potentially shoot my A-Wing. Okay. They can't kill Obi-Wan. They can only kill A-Wing. But, I mean, this is a really nice setup for my opponent. Not going to lie. Like, they had a really nice hand to counteract what I want to be doing. But we can definitely come back. Definitely come back. Ooh. Mace Windu might be the first step in doing that. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is... I'm going to Mace Windu. Ambush the Royal Guard. Ready up a Mace Windu. They could be dropping Reinforcement Walkers, Darth Vaders. There's all sorts of different cards that they could have here. Mace Windu is actually pretty nice on this board. They probably... Oh, they're going to attack the science facility. Okay, so they're going to attack my base, which is a little bit surprising, to be honest. I could go for ignoring their units, but that could give us a little bit of trouble, because if we can't end the game... okay, they're going to make us discard. That's totally fine. We will just go ahead and kill Poe Dameron. The reason why I say that's a little bit scary is because they're quite far ahead on board right now. So what they could do is, if they, let's say we just ignore them and go for base, then they could start to kind of clean up the board every turn, and that would be really bad, and play like a Reinforcement Walker and start healing, right? Reinforcement Walker, very scary card. Definitely something that we kind of have to keep in mind here. Redemption is okay. Let's go ahead and attack their base to get us started. Hit them for 5. And we could ready up a Cassian. My guess is they're going to kill Sabine. And the reason why I attacked like this is because we do have the... what's it called? We do have the Chewbacca to smuggle out later. Phase 3 Dark Trooper, huh? Excellent hand for my opponent. And they drew a second Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Yeah, I mean, they are starting to outvalue us pretty immensely at this point. And that's kind of what Double Green Palpatine is trying to do, for sure. Fel the Dragon's pretty nice. It is pretty nice, but I'm definitely going to be smuggling out this Chewbacca here. Defeating the Emperor Palpatine. Hopefully they don't draw like a Devastator, because that would be a little bit tricky. Attack our base. Probably draw a card. Let's attack their base for 6. I'm surprised they didn't heal here. Well, they have a Devastator, sure. I mean, Devastator is just a ridiculous card. As I said, Devastator would be a really big problem for us, and they drew Devastator exactly. So, I mean, sometimes that just happens, you know. Sometimes they just have exactly what you're afraid of, right? So they attack. I don't think we have any outs. I guess I could replay Redemption. But I'd have to attack, and I'd have to Fel the Dragon, Devastator, and then I didn't have enough resources to replay Redemption. So yeah, that's gonna be GG. And let's just go ahead and pass so that they can just attack us. They can swap, choose sides. It's not exactly all that relevant. Sure, none of this is relevant. They could have just attacked after I said GG and passed. Okay, getting to the next game. Open fire, usually not all that great. It doesn't size well against like Emperor's Royal Guard. Rivals Fall is usually pretty good. I do like Fel the Dragon. I do like Pillage, and I do like Tech. I'm not a huge fan of Concord Dawn Interceptors. I think everything else is pretty okay. I could go with disabling Fangfighter in case they have Traitorous. Takedown could be a little bit better than some other things that we got, but generally speaking, Open Fires doesn't size well. Concord Underserver is pretty weak. Pillage can be pretty good, and we're gonna go with that. Nice hand from our opponent. Even though they didn't have an early play, this matchup isn't about the early plays, right? We're not a fast deck. We're not trying to race you. We don't have like a ton of explosive damage. What we're trying to do is outvalue you. And Double Green Palpatine can just steal our units. And if they steal like a Poe Dameron, it's really good for them, right? And in that case, they had a Sentinel to back up their Poe Dameron. They had the Devastator right when they needed it. They had the Reinforcement Walker. They had like the quadruple play that one turn. I think it was like, I don't even remember what they played, but they played like multiple cards in a single turn. It was really brutal for us. And those are the types of things that we have to worry about. We're going to mulligan this hand, even though we have Sabine Wren, because overall the hand just doesn't really do a whole lot. I like this hand a lot more. I get to go out and resource this Sabine Wren and probably the Fell the Dragon. Even though Fell the Dragon's pretty nice in this matchup, I do want to keep Force Throw here and Kanan, as it's my turn 1 play, turn 2 play, and then the Force Throw as backup. And let's see where we're going to head this game. Cassian turn 1. Solid start. Now if they have like a Yularen or a Scanning Officer, or heck, a Salacious Crumb, it just dies. Fell the Dragon. I think I'll resource the Obi-Wan and keep the Fell the Dragon, because actually I do like Fell the Dragon. This is pretty nice. I'm just going to go ahead and kill their Salacious Crumb. Again, this matchup's all about value, so getting 3 damage into our opponent's base isn't really going to matter all that much. But I will go ahead and play the Kanan here. Pass. We got a Yoda. Yoda looks pretty good here. I can Yoda plus Force Throw. Do absolutely want to keep the Krayt Dragon in hand here, as that's one of our strongest cards at dealing with all of our opponent's massive stuff. If we get an early Krayt Dragon, that can be pretty oppressive. Redemption, I think we can resource because we want to keep all the other options. See if they have a command. If they have a command, it's not the worst. But then you get to put 2 experience tokens and ramp. And ramping is the scary part, of course. So they have command. And let's see if they decide to return Salacious Crumb or give experience. So they're going to give some experience. That's fine. I'm going to Force Throw my opponent to start us off. I could Fell the Dragon, but I think I'd rather get down a Yoda here. And there's a good chance I'm going to hit something that's like 4 damage so that Cassian or Kanan will trade. Looks like I hit a Gamorrean Retainer, so obviously that ended up being pretty bad for us. Why they kept Gamorrean Retainer, I'm a little bit surprised. I'd just be curious to know what they resourced. I expected to hit at least something that's 3 toughness, but not much that we can do about it. We're going to use both of our units to trade with their units. I could have Forced Through myself or Fell the Dragon, but I want to keep both of those for a little bit later on in the game. Rivals Fall, I like a little bit less than the Fell the Dragon. I can kill Palpatine with it, however, which could be good. Let's go and resource the Rivals Fall, though. Play a Yularen, huh? All right, well, let's just go ahead and flip our Han. They're going to command, huh? Yet another command. They're going to give it experience. Sure. Let's just go ahead and attack Yularen. And let's just trade both of our units for Yularen. We really don't want officials on the battlefield. And I don't want them attacking into my Poe Dameron and then stealing with Emperor Palpatine. So I'd rather just clear off the board. Getting rid of options for Overwhelming Barrage is also really nice. We'll just have us draw a card. We play a Poe Dameron. And we're still pretty set here. We're still in a good spot. I like the Chewbacca, I think, more in the resource pile, to be honest. Do I want to put in the resource pile? See, the problem with this is that it's not really going to hit too many things. But I think A-Wing's also pretty weak. No, I'm going to resource the A-Wing. I'm expecting Poe Dameron to die this turn. Okay. Let's see what happens. They have a Darth Vader. Excellent card for them to have, of course. They're probably going to pick up a couple nice ones for themselves. See if they decide to hit something else besides Han. Okay, they're going to hit Han. That's fine. Yeah, that's pretty rough for us. Let's just go ahead and deal 2 to Piet. They can deal a damage to hit the Poe Dameron. And unfortunately, we just have to fell the dragon Darth Vader. They're going to steal my Poe Dameron. We get to Chewbacca it next turn, which isn't the worst. We just have to hope my opponent doesn't have anything too crazy. Ooh. Mace Windu, Luke. I think I still want to go with Chewbacca here, because Chewbacca is going to be a 6/8, which is hard for them to deal with. Kill the Poe Dameron. And I mean, Emperor Palpatine's really good against this deck. Having a Darth Vader and having multiple units drawn off of it, not just like a 3-drop, is really strong. That doesn't always happen. That's pretty unlikely to happen usually in this matchup, but that's, sometimes that just happens, right? Double phase 3 Dark Trooper, obviously great for our opponent, and Salacious Crumb. So they've dumped their hand. They're going to start racing us, is what they're trying to do here. We got ourselves double Luke. I really like Luke here. But I think what I want to do is just get down a Krayt Dragon immediately. They could have choose sides, and choose sides at this stage in the game would be really excellent for them, but we can't really be playing around something extra here. Let's just get down a Krayt Dragon. If they have choose sides, they have choose sides. Or if they drew it right off the top, then they have it. But they kept both cards in their hand, which means that's probably a little bit on the cheaper side. And we're going to start to kind of whittle down our opponent's forces with a Krayt Dragon on the battlefield. And we have a backup of Luke's. And hopefully we end up drawing like another Chewbacca so we can replenish that if that ends up happening. But I do like our spot, assuming they don't have, again, choose sides. They don't have Devastator because they didn't resource anything. So obviously they have Devastator. They would have resourced something so they could play Devastator. Looks like they ended up having Enterprising Lackeys. Let's just get rid of both phase 3 Dark Troopers here. Start wiping out their board slowly. So they smuggled that one out, by the way. And we do want to try to get rid of their board because Overwhelming Barrage is one of the cards that they can use to kind of destroy us. And again, I could try to race them, but they could have a lot of Sentinels and such. I don't think racing is really what we want to be doing here. Like, we couldn't race them there because we had to kill the Sentinels, right? That was our only option. So next turn is the first turn we have the option to, like, okay, can we race them? And generally, I would say no, mainly because, well, one, they could have a lot of healing. If they pick up Sentinels, it's going to be really tough to actually punch through damage. And in this deck, well, the deck that we're fighting here, they're going to have a lot of Sentinels. They have Emperor's Royal Guard, which is a Sentinel when it comes down at this point in the game. Phase 3 Dark Troopers. They could have other options that I'm not considering right now, but it'd be really tough to race them. And we're also under a decent amount of pressure ourselves. So not exactly something that I'm pretty excited about. Karabast, huh? Karabast could be really interesting here. So I actually quite like Karabast. I'm going to go ahead and Karabast here. Kill the Enterprising Lackeys so they can't actually get in some damage on our Krayt Dragon or Chewbacca. And the reason I did that is if I were to, let's say, attack Emperor Palpatine right now, then they could finish off my Krayt Dragon with Enterprising Lackeys, and that could give an open back into this game for my opponent. I really want to keep this Krayt Dragon around. That is the way that we kind of just dominate the game we just really kind of cruise through the game. We also have Luke Skywalker, so if they do end up killing something, that we will get the -6/-6, which is pretty important. Lots of different things. There's 2 Darth Vaders in the resource pile. It doesn't necessarily look like they have something too impactful. Well, let's kill the Gamorrean Retainer here, and I will actually just go ahead and kill Piet, so they can't ambush out like a Reinforcement Walker. 3 damage, huh? Let's kill Salacious Crumb, and let's go ahead and kill Emperor Palpatine at this point. And I mean, look at Krayt Dragon. Krayt Dragon is kind of just solo winning us the game. It's just destroying everything that they've got. Draw the bit boys. I'm not sure what that means. Let's just play a Luke, get rid of that, and we'll pass. The big boys. I'm assuming they meant to say big boys, like Devastator, Reinforcement Walker, that type of stuff. Devastator would actually not even be that bad at this point, because we can hit their base for 10. So that's always pretty nice. They have a tech, huh? Interesting. All right, well, we will go ahead and just hit their base for 6 and just start closing out the game. I'm going to keep my 10 powered attackers back for just a moment, see if there's a different option for us to hit. They have 6 resources. They do have the tech, which it looks like they played for 5 resources, which is pretty funny. See what they've got. Looks like they're playing Command, which would actually, if they go experience, deal damage, be able to kill. Oh, they accidentally gave experience to my Krayt Dragon. So yeah, let's do the same action. They're gonna be able to do Command, experience, deal damage to Krayt Dragon, which ends up killing my Krayt Dragon, which is nice. However, we're going to be able to pillage them. And they're going to have no cards in hand. And we can deal 4 to their base. So we pillage our opponent. Just get rid of both cards in hand. It's a Relentless and a Super Laser Technician. We can kill tech, but it's not necessary. We just hit their base for 10. We pass. And then now we should be able to go ahead and finish off the game with either Luke or Chewbacca. Get rid of Kanan. They can smuggle out Command again. I think they played 2 this game. They have a Devastator. That's fine. We kill them with Luke. Cool. So that was game 2. This is game 3. And again, we do have to sideboard here. Once again, Conquer Dawn Interceptors out. Open Fire, generally speaking, pretty bad. I like Rival's Fall. I like Fell the Dragon. I like Pillage. I like Tech. Disabling Fang Fighter. Do we see any upgrades that our opponents were playing? Obviously, the experience tokens, but that's not really all that relevant. Takedown could be relevant for Tech. Emperor's Royal Guard. I think I like Takedown maybe more than Karabast here. Although Karabast is pretty sweet in some of these games. I don't really want to be damaging my own units. Yeah, I think taking away the Karabast here and putting in Takedown makes a little decent chunk of sense here. Into our next game, we got ourselves a Krayt Dragon, and we have a turn 1 into turn 2 play, so I like all of that. I think I'm going to keep this hand. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Let's just hope our opponent doesn't have insane ramp. But it does seem that they've been doing that every game. Feels like they're getting down Palpatine so early. Karabast resource, Fell the Dragon resource, give us a true 3-4 curve. Get down an A-Wing. Let's pass. Got ourselves a secondary Kanan. We're going to play Kanan. They're going to kill it with Gamorrean Retainer, and that's going to be that. They've got a Royal Guard, huh? Well, let's just go ahead and attack for 3. And let's just go ahead and... Actually, I think we... it's a little bit awkward, but I think we claim initiative. If they... We should... in my head, I'm like, okay, we could, if we don't attack with A-Wing, we just play Poe Dameron. They don't attack with Gamorrean Retainer. They still get down the Royal Guard, which is pretty bad for us. So we didn't really have a great option in that spot, unfortunately. I'm a little bit scared of a command here. They could give experience here. The YouTube guy. Yes, I am the YouTube guy. That's funny. I'm a little bit scared of command here. They can give experience, kill my A-Wing. Oh, man. What are they going to do? Deal damage and just resource. Okay. So not as bad as I was concerned about. Get down to Poe Dameron. They're going to attack our base. Sure. Drew ourselves a couple of different cards. This resource with Cassian. It can be smuggled out a little bit later. We can get down Obi-Wan. Usually, I mean, they could have Overwhelming Barrage, which could kill Poe Dameron, and that would be a little bit unfortunate. I think that's the really only way that we really get punished here. However, if we get down a Han Solo and then attack the Gamorrean Retainer, we're so much advantaged. And I think we kind of have to play as if they don't have Overwhelming Barrage. If they have Overwhelming Barrage, it's really unfortunate for us. Because they can kill Poe Dameron, and then they'll have like a 5/7 Royal Guard or a 5/4 Gamorrean Retainer, which is pretty bad. But we need to be able to get through Poe Dameron, I think, in order to really feel like we're in a good position to win the game. Because I think we're pretty far behind right now. They have a second command, so they can't deal damage because both of our units are unique. So it gives some experience, huh? In that case, let's just go ahead and what do we want to do here? I think we'll just trade. And I will discard, deal damage. Oh, wait. Discard, deal damage, and not make them discard. Royal Guard is going to be pretty impactful to get rid of because, again, it's going to become a Sentinel when Palpatine flips regardless. And now what we can do is get down a Kanan and then get down a A-Wing. And now we have board presence. Our opponent doesn't have anything, but they can flip Palpatine, which is something that we have to consider. We can get down a Redemption here shortly, but Luke is going to be the next play that we make. Luke can really help us out here. We're in a pretty okay spot at this stage in the game. Again, if they had an Overwhelming Barrage, we probably would have just lost. But I don't think we really had any other option. They had the second command. They've been playing so many commands in all these games, by the way. It's like the best card in their deck, too. But that's just something that happens, of course. They can flip Palpatine, steal our A-Wing. I'm really not that scared of that, which is why I was willing to play it. Looks like they have a reinforcement walker, which is totally fine. Let's see if they decide to kill something. I guess they don't really have an option to kill something. Oh, they're going to flip Palpatine, huh? All right, well, let's attack their base for 3. Them flipping Palpatine's a really nice sign for us. Yes, we're not going to be able to play Luke this turn, but I didn't want to play Luke here when they could flip Palpatine. I didn't want to play Luke either when they could just get some extra value off of us, which is a little bit unfortunate. Let's just go ahead and hit their Emperor Palpatine. We can finish it off with Cassian. Got an Overwhelming Barrage. We get a Cassian out. We kill their Emperor Palpatine. And now, I mean, we're in a pretty good spot. Drew ourselves, we had the redemption already. We got Mace Windu as the draw. We have the Luke here that's ready to be played. And I mean, it really depends on what they draw, right? If they get Devastator, 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 that type of card, or like Relentless into Devastator, or, you know, whatever it is, if it's massive and relevant, then that could be a little bit scary. If they have like Darth Vader's, we could definitely compete with that, even though that would be an excellent draw for them as well. If they have more Reinforcement Walkers, that could be a little bit scary. I think what we do is we just start off by attacking with Cassian. If we're able to play Luke, we can actually shrink the Reinforcement Walker to a point where our Kanan doesn't die to it, which is awesome. Let's see what our opponent's got. They could sacrifice the A-Wing to kill my Kanan. Which it looks like they are going to be doing. Let's just go ahead and... I think, do I want to drop in a redemption? Let's just shrink down the Reinforcement Walker here. So they can't attack for any damage, but they can draw a card with it. So they claim initiative. Interesting. Okay. So they claim initiative here, which is a little bit scary for us, for sure. They could have a Devastator here. And it looks like that's what they're setting up for. Overwhelming Barrage, huh? Okay. Overwhelming Barrage is excellent for them. Assuredly. Let's just go Rivals Fall. Yeah, let's just Rivals Fall away the Reinforcement Walker. Let's claim initiative. They have a Royal Guard, huh? Okay. Rey is a pretty interesting card. Krayt Dragon is obviously the card that we're most excited about. I think what we want to do is just get down this Mace Windu and start knocking off their whole board. Devastator's a scary one, of course, as I said earlier. And if we get down a Krayt Dragon here, and if they have Devastator, I think the game just ends for us. Like, I don't think we have any real answer. Looks like they're going to choose sides our Mace Windu, which is really not that bad for us. Okay, they're going to kill the Yularen. Hit us for 5. Sure. So here's the question. If I go with Krayt Dragon, if they have Devastator, I think if they have Devastator at this point, we just lose. Because if I go Obi-Wan and they have Devastator, then they kill Obi-Wan. They can fight through anyways. At this point, because they have taken our Mace Windu, and we don't really have a way to immediately kill Mace Windu, I think we just have to go with Krayt Dragon. Like, I think that is our only option. If they have Devastator, they have Devastator, and there's not really much that we can do about it. If they had Devastator, they almost certainly would have played it by now, because they could just kill my Krayt Dragon, right? It's not really a competition. Or they're slow rolling us. Either way. But Devastator is the card that we're most scared of right here. This is a long match. This is a long match. They have command, so they can bring back something. They could bring back like a Royal Guard. They could give experience to Mace Windu, which wouldn't actually get him out of range of the command damage from Krayt Dragon. So they can't, or they can deal damage here because they can, just deal 5 with Mace Windu. The question is, what did they return? Oh, they chose Reinforcement Walker. Okay, so we'll kill Mace Windu here. And I guess we'll claim initiative. Force throwing 1 card out of their hand doesn't really do anything. So to ambush, kill the Krayt Dragon. They want to resolve the Darth Vader ambush first. Or they want to resolve the search first and then the ambush next. Am I able to choose? They should be the ones that are able to choose. Well, I guess since no, they're the active player, so I guess technically I am the active player at that point. I don't know. I'm actually not 100% sure on how that should work, but I'm pretty sure they should have been able to choose when the trigger would go off. So they got Reinforcement Walker back, if you remember. We can get down a Redemption. We can smuggle out Tech. And then we can smuggle out some other stuff like a Fell the Dragon, which I think we want to do. So let's get down Tech. And let's see what we smuggled into our resource pile. We smuggled a Sabine. Fell the Dragon come out and kill their Reinforcement Walker, which we know that they have. It's one of the reasons why I killed Piet, so that it couldn't ambush us. Pillage, not exactly insane at this stage in the game, but it might be able to do some work here. I would have loved to be able to play Tech for one reduced cost so we could double Pillage on potentially. But they definitely kept Reinforcement Walker in hand, because at this stage of the game, Reinforcement Walker is one of their best cards that they could have. Having the third command available to them is kind of insane. Reinforcement Walker comes down. We're going to Fell the Dragon, the Reinforcement Walker. What did we smuggle? A K2. So now they no longer have really anything, is what I'm guessing. Takedown could kill Salacious Crumb. Carabas could get something. Takedown's kind of mediocre here. I'm just going to resource it because we can also smuggle it out. Devastator's the card that I'm really scared of, to be honest. Looks like that Palpatine's Return. That is an excellent card for them. They are drawing hot. I will say that. They are drawing hot. You need to be looking for other Crate Dragon. Like, I would have loved Crate Dragon. I would have loved so many different cards here, but not exactly what I'm getting. I think what I want to do here is just play Redemption, heal up a good amount. Like, I think I would like to heal up. Let's just do 5, because they could have, like... I'm just thinking of what they could play here. Let's just go ahead and pillage our opponent. Make them get rid of 2 cards in hand. Yularen and Reinforcement Walker. So whatever they kept is pretty brutal for us. We get Crumb and they get a Redemption. Okay, so they have the second choose sides here. Pretty funny. Okay. So what do we want to do here? I think we just play Obi-Wan. Okay, so they went ahead and got some value there. Let's just go ahead and attack. I'm doing this to kind of bait in an attack from my opponent. It's kind of what I was hoping to do. Let's play Luke, get rid of their Redemption. They're going to take initiative. That's fine. Redemption's actually a pretty nice one here. So I could have played Luke and killed the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. We would take too much damage in the space arena, I think, for that. It would have been pretty brutal here. Let's just play a Redemption here. So now it kind of tanks the Relentless for us. Opponent's going to attack our base. We are going to attack their Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Pretty sick game. Not going to lie. Pretty sick game. They're going to defeat and I suppose hit the Redemption. which is kind of funny because that's actually going to be advantageous for us, since the Relentless will take 6 damage, and if we're able to attack with Podameron, we're able to actually kill the Relentless here with Podameron. So that could be really good for us. We'll see. They could have an Overwhelming Barrage, and none of this matters because they deal, 8 here, 2 here, and then they're in a situation where they just attack twice and win the game. Well, they have Devastator. Yeah, I mean, there's just too many things here at the end of the game. They had too many things. We're gonna claim initiative. Surprised they went with the defeat Darth Vader. Ooh, there's our Krayt Dragon now. GG. What a long game. What a crazy, crazy game. This is one of those matchups where Double Green Palpatine does have a pretty nice game against us because of how much late game they have, and they can actually outvalue us. So that's one of those games where Double Green Palpatine can actually do some work, and you saw it there where choose sides actually is kind of relevant in the late game when we have things like Krayt Dragon or whatever, and they're able to swap it around. Our Luke Skywalkers don't usually kill their big stuff. We don't have a ton of ways to compete with their big stuff outside of Krayt Dragon. And unfortunately, Krayt Dragon does die. Like, it can die if you're not able to play it out at the perfect time. They also did draw triple command and kind of what they needed to nearing the end of the game there. Triple command. Command is the best card in the matchup, or one of the better cards in the matchup, because you're able to kind of figure out your cards that you want in terms of resourcing / returning units, which can be really relevant. Obviously, resourcing and also putting experience down. So what happens is they actually can put on pressure, and we actually have to deal with their units on board. So we can't actually conserve our later game plays against Double Green Palp. One of the things that we can win from is if they do an early Palp flip and steal like an A-Wing, which they did do in that one game. I'm not sure if that was the last game. It's been so long, or the second game. But that's one of the things that we need to kind of have happen. But if they're able to draw Devastator, that can be a really nice one for them. I'm happy that this game got shown, because this is one of the matchups that is a little bit on the trickier side for Double Green Han Blue, which is why we have like Fel the Dragons in the sideboard, or Fel the Dragon main deck and Fel the Dragon in sideboard. We also have the techs, because tech can be really relevant in that matchup. You saw us getting the Fel the Dragon out on their Reinforcement Walker. There's a lot of things that we can do, but it's kind of hard for us to finish out the game because of us not really having that much damage in the early game, and then not really having as much late game as the Double Green Palp. So pretty fun game, and a nice little best of 3 to wrap it up here. Let's talk about the deck at the end here. So what did we learn with Han Blue? Well, this deck is absolutely amazing. When I'm testing out decks and playing a bunch of this random stuff, it's always nice to come back to one of, if not the best decks in the format, in like Boba Yellow, Sabine Green, or Han Blue. And this is the deck I've been having a ton of fun lately, and the deck of choice for me, just because of how powerful it can truly be. You saw there, we have basically a solid matchup against every single deck in the format, even in some of our trickier matchups where we're a value deck. We're trying to outsize our opponent and outvalue them. However, the tricky part of that is that we're not ramping, right? Because we're Han Blue. So we're not really ramping. And so our opponents, if they are ramping and at the same time they have more value, then they can outvalue us. If we're fighting like our opponent's Han Green, like new Han Green, for example, we can still beat it, because while they are ramping, they're not usually outvaluing us. But something like Palpatine, as you saw there, they have that leader flip that is just so immensely better than our leader flip that really gives them a heavy advantage, right? They can take a Podameron, which essentially acts as a removal plus a Podameron of their own, whereas our Han Solo might just like straight up simply attack an Emperor's Royal Guard or whatnot. So that's something that we have to really, really kind of keep in mind as we're going through. But if you're fighting things like Sabine Green, if you're fighting things like Boba Yellow, all these matchups can be tackled, especially if you are playing up the deck and you kind of have a little bit of experience in those matchups. We saw earlier, I think it was Boba Yellow. It's been so long, but I think we fought a Boba Yellow earlier and we kind of demolished it. Boba Yellow is one of those decks that has a little bit of a hard time against Han Blue, as far as I've seen, just because, again, of how much value and how much we can keep up with them with things like, Kanan earlier on in the game and making them discard their whole hand, and Karabas does early removal alongside open fires, and Luke's coming down so earlier that can deal with stuff. Fell the Dragon Steel with Fet's Fire Spray, heck, even Rivals Fall or other cards to deal with Boba Leader, all of which can really help you out. So this deck really positioned itself well, and I've had a ton of fun with it. Definitely recommend you giving it a try. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I know it was kind of a longer one because we ended up going through a lot of best of threes. Let me know what you think about the best of three gameplay. It's definitely a lot different because you're interacting with sideboards. You don't know what your opponent's sideboarding. You don't know kind of what the matchup could be, especially on Karabas, where, well, no one knows what the deck lists are actually going to be because everyone's kind of playing whatever their own little brew is, generally speaking. But that last matchup was something that was pretty expected. Double Green Palpatine is kind of running all of those cards. Like, that's what I would expect Double Green Palpatine to run. The only thing that was a little bit spicier was like choose sides, but that is ran usually in a 1 or 2 of in the sideboard for matchups like this, where they can exchange after playing like a Darth Vader, they can exchange their Piets or their scanning officers or their Yularians or their super laser techs or whatever it is for one big unit later on in the game. Kind of like what Palpatine's trying to do, right? Steal units. Choose sides can be pretty impactful later on. And you did see it there where they swapped our Redemption with their Salacious Crumb. And they swapped our, what was it? It was a Mace Windu for Yularen, I think it was the other one. So yeah, it could be pretty impactful later on in the game. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you all for the next one.